Hello everybody, this is Lady Kaylah here and welcome to the Geekdom. Today I am going to do a book review on The Well of Ascension by Sanderson. And this book's really good overall. Following up the first book, which is Mistborn, it follows through really nicely. It picks up, obviously there were some, time lapses where they decided to skip over some time, but beside that, it picks up where they left off. It's really interesting because, like I mentioned before, Mistborn kind of left off where you defeated the main problem that was brought up, and so it almost seemed like a standalone, minus the questions that you had about certain things. And so it's kind of like picking up The Well of Ascension. It's kind of like picking up a book after, you would be like, what happens after the evil is defeated? I want to know what happens after everything gets solved. And so The Well of Ascension kind of picks up like that, and then we realize, that is not the only evil that they have to solve was, not just the Lord Ruler that they solved in book 1. It turns out there's even more problems that they have to go through in The Well of Ascension. Even though the Lord Ruler was a tyrant in book 1, he was holding everything together. And now, everyone, the people who are oppressed are free, and nobody knows what to do with them now that they're free. There's people who are used to living their life as nobility and don't want the people who are free to be free, and people are greedy for power, so they're deciding who deserves to be king. And so you would think, oh, all happily ever after, the tyrant is defeated, and no, they have a lot more work to do. And then, even then, on top of that, we're introduced to a new evil and a new problem that seems to be way worse than the Lord Ruler. And, even at the very end, there was kind of this air of mystery about this new evil entity that they're going to have to face now, which they don't actually solve in this book. They kind of solve the problem of the greedy, more tangible problems that they had, like facing the other kings and whatnot. They got that problem solved, but now they have this new problem, which I'm guessing they're going to solve in the third book. And so, overall, The Well of Ascension was really awesome. I really like that whole feel, like, oh, what happens after you defeat the evil? And then on top of that, we have this layer of, oh, there's an even worse evil lurking that we have to deal with on top of, all these problems of political nature that we have to solve. So that's really interesting. I really like how there's a lot of, political things, as well as the more magical nature, the more, I don't know, supernatural nature. And I really like the character development. These characters were not quite fully developed in the book 1. They had a lot of issues and they had a lot of problems that they needed to solve, and they needed to actually face. Vin, especially, who's our main character, is the avoiding type, and so she had to face herself multiple times and figure out who she was and where she belonged, and I really like that. I hate when characters just, oh, I found myself now I know what I need to do, and now I'm perfect and whatnot. Vin's a very imperfect character, and I really like that, and I really like how she has a lot of internal conflict, as well as all the conflict going around. And so the characters are really interesting. Beside Vin, a lot of the other characters have some development they need to go through. Plot-wise, everything's set up really nicely. I like the layers that it puts, with the political and the supernatural and all that. And then I like how there's a lot of lore, and, we find out a lot about the land, like I call it lore of the land, where you find out all these different races and creatures and whatnot. They have their own stories, and I really love that. It always makes me happy to see. We already figured out how the magic of the land works, so it's really interesting to see how the creatures and the people of the earth, or this world, how they have their own stories. I really love that. I always love the lore of the land, and this has really interesting lore, and I just think it's really well done, really well paced. Pacing is like everything. I hate when I feel like I'm rushed or things are going too slow. I feel like everything's really balanced. And even like the battle scenes, like I hate battle scenes. I usually like skip over them, and I still found myself skipping over some of the battle scenes in this book, but they're not too long where you feel like, oh, this is going on forever. They're not too short where you're like, oh, I didn't get any action. So I know a lot of people who are into battle scenes or like fighting scenes. I'm not really into it, but I know some people are, and I feel like this has some pretty good ones. It's not the overall focus of the book at all, but I feel like it has enough if you are really into the action. I just so happen to not be. So the Well of Ascension, really interesting. It is the middle book, and so we were left off on this kind of like cliffhanger type of thing, which was really interesting, and it sets you up for the last one. I can't wait to see what goes on. Very sad, we lose a couple people. I was crying, but I really like books like that that get you emotionally invested, and I like those books that keep you on your toes. I hate when you're reading something and you just know the character's not gonna die. Like those characters that you're just like, oh, they're like the Superman, they're the hero. If they die, you know, their book would just discontinue. And so there's no like real sense of danger, and this definitely has it. You definitely don't want a lot of these characters to go, and so there's always that sense of, oh no, you know, they're gonna be goners, and however the situation's dealt with, it's really interesting, and it keeps you interested, and it gets you emotionally invested, and it's really great. So I really like The Well of Ascension. I can't wait to read the last one. I will be reviewing that when I do finally get it read. So until then, see you next time. Bye.